people relate stress with mental stress, right? Emotional stress, which in part, yes, it is true, but it's not totally accurate because you need to see it. We need to see it from the broader perspective. What means stress for ourselves? What means stress for our body? And scientists and physicians we visualize stress from a different optic because stress is basically everything that is threatening the normal function of our body. Any threat to our well-being. I mean, any threat that is interrupting the normal function of any of your cells, of your metabolism. So that's basically it. Because our body has a way to function, right? There are some aspects that works in certain way. And if something is interrupting or affecting that proper function, that's basically a threat. So we call that a stress. With that said, we have several stress factors around there. And yes, mental stress is one of that. And when our body undergoes stress, it triggers many things. It triggers a cascade of many biomarkers and metabolic pathways. Yes. But by the way, mental stress is really good. Actually, it's part of our evolution. Mental stress is healthy when it's managed in a proper way. When we need we need some mental stress, so we develop things, so we resolve things, so we are capable of dealing with projects and challenges in our lives. So we need it. Mental stress is not bad. What is bad is that when our body doesn't have the proper resources to deal with chronic stress. We have this spontaneous stress. We can deal with that. But when we have these chronic stress, these scenarios of constant uh, stress in our brain, in mental stress, emotional scenarios in where we are feeling with huge amount of stress that never goes away. And if our body doesn't have the resources, that's when we could have problems. So that's a good way to differentiate because mental stress is needed, of course, but when it's chronic, and if our body doesn't have the resources to adapt to it or to deal with the consequences of it, that's when we could have problems with our health. Okay, but yes, mental stress is one of the types of the stress we are familiarized with, but also we have physical stress. And when it comes to physical stress, maybe some of you might think about athletes or people exercising constantly, but there are so many jobs, daily common jobs that requires a lot of physical stress. Most of you, citizen, parents, professional, entrepreneurs, by the end of the day, you are toast or we are toast. Our body is so tired, and it's because we are submitting our body to a huge amounts of physical stress because we never stop. Okay, that's pretty common these days. Housewives as well dealing with scenarios of high intensity in terms of physical stress. So this goes for everyone. Okay, so we have mental stress, physical stress, but also we have other kinds of stress, chemical and environmental stress. We are literally surrounded by uh, mm, these compounds that we cannot see, invisible compounds, even compounds that doesn't smell, odorless, that are surrounding us because of many factors. And our body needs to deal with that. Our cells needs to deal with that. our respiratory system needs to deal with that, our skin, etc., etc. So those compounds, most of them are or could be very aggressive, and our body can deal with those. We can adapt to really deal with those, but there is some point in where this is too much, and sometimes our body is not capable of dealing with the damage or consequences of that kind of stress. But yes, that's a real thing. Depending where you live or what you do every day, we are exposed to chemical and environmental stress. And also, this could be in certain way connected with immunological stress. We can find people with serious challenges in terms of immunity, dealing with so many situations, inflammatory scenarios, infections, uh, I mean, we can talk about so many factors in where our immune system doesn't have the resources to adapt. That there are so many alarms going on there that our immune system is so busy that sometimes there are aspects that collapses. So yes, some people might undergo serious immunity stress, immunological stress. So, and we can continue talking about different aspects of stress, different factors of stress, but these are like the most common and some of the best you can visualize in your daily life. Well, what this means for our human health? Well, the good news is we are very well prepared to interact with the environment around us. Yes, that's part of our evolution. We are really good at it. We can interact with so many compounds out there. We have the capacity to deal with mental stress, with immunological stress, et cetera, et cetera. We can deal with infections and with these adverse scenarios in our environment. We can deal with that, but there is some limit. There is some point of no return. So our body is capable of maintaining balance or achieving balance. There is like a framework. There is like a normal range in where we can navigate and our body can cope with any kind of stress and keeping us healthy. Our body possesses different mechanisms of adaptation that help us to keep homeostasis. That's basically the biochemical term from the metabolism standpoint, metabolic standpoint. So as long as we are navigating in that normal range, everything is fine. But this is something what is happening these days. Most people are dealing with so many complicated scenarios of stress that sometimes our body doesn't have the resources, it's not totally adapted to maintain their normal range. As soon as you are out of the normal range, you are not healthy anymore, right? Or there is some problem there, there is some alarm there. And you can see it sometimes when, I don't know, if you go and get a blood test in the lab for the classical parameters, for your checkup every year. And sometimes, yes, we can see that in certain parameters like triglycerides, cholesterol, glucose, etc. Well, sometimes we are out of margin, and you have a margin there. You have a normal range in where it's considered healthy. As long as you are inside the normal range, it's fine. But sometimes you are out of range. You are out of homeostasis. You are losing balance. You are losing equilibrium, and probably that's a signal related with some disease, related with some health conditions. And if the stress factor is so intense and your body doesn't have the resources to cope with it, and in very severe scenarios, well, that could lead to even death. So that's like a very graphic way, you can visualize what is equilibrium, what is homeostasis, and what is the capacity of your body. And sometimes when I explain this to some friends and colleagues, I remember this toy back in the days. It was very popular, Slinky, if I recall well. This coil plastic string that is really fun to use, right? If you stretch it, it comes back to normal, right? You can stretch it again and again and again, and every single time it comes back to normal. So we are in balance, in equilibrium, in homeostasis. This coil is capable of dealing with the stress with no issues. Stretching is you are stressing the toy, you are stressing this plastic structure, and at the end, it comes back to normal. That's basically what is happening with your body. So your body can be submitted to different kinds of stress, but at the end, your body is capable to adapt and to deal with that and comes back to normal. We are navigating in a normal range and you're healthy. But what happened when we exceed that? There is like a limit point, and we if we exceed that, that's when, in this case, this slinky toy is not coming back again. It's not coming back to normal structure. That's when something has collapsed. It's losing equilibrium, it's losing homeostasis. And that is something that is happening to many people these days. And it is a really easy way to see it. So let's keep the fun part in where our body is capable to adapt to stress, to cope better with the stress because it possesses the necessary resources. But your body has the necessary resources to deal with the stress, with the daily stress you are experiencing every single day. So that's a question. And when scientists were exploring all these aspects of stress, well, we need to look up to other species, other organisms out there. And if you go and see plants are perfect examples of living organisms perfectly adapted to stress. It's impressive how well they are adapted to deal with different scenarios in where you have different temperature, high temperature, low temperature, excess of water, no water at all, salinity in the soil, etc. You name it. And they are really good in terms of adaptation. So what are their mechanisms? What are the mechanisms in plants so they can adapt so well to extreme scenarios of stress? Well, that has been studied for decades, and now we have answers. Now we have really amazing results, amazing identification of the mechanisms behind this adaptation. And it's because plants doesn't have, for instance, they don't have an immune system, by the way. They don't have antibodies like us. They don't have nothing at all. They have their own natural defenses. And those natural defenses are basically compounded by adaptogens. That's a group of compounds with a remarkable capacity to adapt to stress. Adaptogen, because it cannot help plants to adapt better to stress, whatever it is. And at the same time, their natural defenses are compounded by phytonutrients, powerful antioxidants, and compounds with very special function. And all that group are basically called bioactive compounds. Bioactive compounds are fascinating compounds. Actually, I was studying bioactive compounds for several years. I have some publications around that. And those are fascinating because bioactive compounds are not only beneficial to plants, that also beneficial to humans as well. And in the same terms, adaptogens are not only beneficial to plants, to humans as well. And that's the good news. For several years, adaptogens have been explored in the botanical world. characterized, isolated, tested in laboratory, tested in clinical trials with tremendous results. And yes, we can take adaptogens from the botanical world and we can use it in our diet and get benefit by that. It can help us to better cope with the stress. Yes, there's plenty of evidence these days, wonderful evidence that if you bring to your daily diet adaptogens, our body will have better resources to adjust, to balance, to modulate, to restore many aspects in your metabolism, and then your body is stronger. You are strengthening your adaptation mechanisms by taking these kind of compounds, and that is fascinating. There are plenty of clinical trials in terms of mental distress using adaptogens, but also in the area of physical performance for athletes. There's a lot of work behind that because of physical stress. Remember, these are fascinating compounds, and when exploring all the botanical world, we know that different plants in where you can find different adaptogens, but by no means rhodiola is the best of the best. These plants particularly possess a higher concentration on adaptogen, especially in the root. The root possess a high concentration and a great diversity of adaptogens. And because of that, is basically the most studied botanicals in terms of adaptogens and the benefit from it. For those that are curious in those terms, I did this exercise in Google Scholar. Is one of the most powerful database these days in terms of science. And I did this exercise. I was trying to reach all the studies around rhodiola root extract, and you can find thousands and thousands of publications. And great part of those publications, you will see it there, are related with clinical trials and the characterization of different adaptogens and different trials in the lab to see all the benefits around us. For sure, this number these days is pretty much higher than the one shown here. So when exploring the botanical world, yes, we were able to find this remarkable herb, which is rhodiola, really rich in adaptogens. But at the same time, we were able to see that you can find in our world different herbs with uses that are super valuable for our daily lives. There's a lot of documentation about it. There are like ancestral herbs, ancestral botanicals, and now with today's technology, we were able to see remarkable things. So when we were designing the formula of K-21 plus, we were thinking about, yes, adaptogens, but also trying to replicate in a certain way the natural defenses of plants. And they are using a great combo of bioactive compounds. That's why now we are adding a powerful combination of botanical extracts coming from all these very solid studies in terms of benefits from all these botanicals, from all these herbs. Most of this pretty well known these days, probably you know about them. But we are talking about extracts of celery seed, alfalfa, thyme, chamomile, acai, acerola cherry, spirulina algae, cranberry, broccoli, shiitake mushroom, which is super famous these days. And what we can see in common here is the massive number of publications that support many things. But basically, we can see that all of these extracts possess in commons a wide range of powerful bioactive compounds with a remarkable antioxidant capacity. Also, they were able to demonstrate to support oxidative stress and chronic inflammation in our cells. That's a really key point because that's one of the ways we can support our body to deal better with the stress. deal with oxidative stress. That's another kind of stress, very inside of every single cells. So we can have support here to deal with oxidative stress and chronic inflammation. When you do that, you are basically supporting your immune system. All that immunological stress is gone when you are supporting your body with this. So now you have adaptogens for rhodiola and all this combo of botanicals and bioactive compounds with remarkable results. And just to put this final touch of the formula in order to support the proper function of your cells, so your cells possess at least the basic resources to work properly, well, you need to look out for minerals. Nothing happens in your body, nothing happens in your cells without the presence of minerals. And especially, I mean, we can talk about minerals for days, but there are some minerals that are like key minerals that according to our criteria, we decided to add it to the formula. So you find potassium, you find iodine, magnesium, which is super key, and boron. Boron is like the universal mineral that is used in so many places around our metabolism. So when you are having this combination, yes, now you have like a strategic support for your cells to cope better with stress, to produce energy, and each single cells can work for whatever they are designed. Just imagine every different tissues in your body. Well, we are supporting the function of those cells in terms of strengthening them to deal better with the stress, right? You have this triad. You have these strategic pillars. So you have a strategic tool for your body to better deal with stress, to better cope with the stress. We are in the era of stress. So stress is surrounding us, and especially with the lab pace, with the pace of the lifestyle we are living, most of us these days. So maybe some of you know this, but K-21 Plus is the first product I take every single morning. I like to wake up in the morning, and as soon as I can, I have this huge glass of water, like a liter of water. And that's like the first place in where I put my serving of K-Nutrix. So my body is getting resources for whatever is coming in that day, right? So when our body is dealing with the stress, we have impact. Many things are triggered. We have this cascade of reaction. And sometimes the source of the stress sometimes is in certain scenarios, it's difficult to disappear. It remains there, but we reduce the impact of that stress. So we are providing resources to our body to cope better with that stress. So now we have better chances to interact with whatever the stress you are dealing with and keeping homeostasis, keeping balance, keeping equilibrium. That's the goal. That's the plan. And at the same time, with K-21 Plus, yes, we are strengthening our immune system as well. We are contributing for our immune system to work better. So the immune system can deal better with inflammation, modulate better inflammation, and to fight back oxidative stress. So that's why K-21 Plus is a very logical product. It's a very logical product. It makes sense for our today's lifestyle. It's a very elegant product. It's a product that can go like for whatever you're doing. This is the first product I take every single day. And of course, in my routine, then I take Immunotec and the rest of the product. But this is one of the products that I use it like the first time in the morning. And also, depending on my routine, I use a serving of K-21 in my water, in my drink, because hydration is super important aspect for anyone. So we are promoting hydration with K-21 Plus as well. So depending on your routine, Now you are strengthening your defenses when having K-21 in your daily diet, in your daily hydration. This can boost your mood as well. You have better results to deal with mental stress. Of course, pretty common to hear people feeling energetic when taking K-21 plus, and now contributing to a better and stronger immune system. All right. So this is from the nutraceutical world, from the nutrition world, a really intelligent and elegant way to help our body to better adapt with a modern life. So thank you so much. I hope this was useful.